Hey friends, my name is Dmitry. Welcome to my channel. Once, the owner of a large grocery store in Oklahoma City noticed that shoppers were refusing to buy certain items because they were difficult to carry. Then he noticed how one customer put a heavy bag on a toy car that her son was rolling on a string. The merchant first attached small wheels to an ordinary basket and then brought in mechanics to help and created a prototype of a modern shopping cart. The mass production of this device began in 1947. The invention of a shopping cart allowed the creation of a new type of store, a supermarket. And do you know what is the most interesting? You will remember this information better because I told you this one as a story. If the same information were presented in the form of a standard bulleted list, you would hardly remember it so well. Today we uncover the secrets of good storytelling and why people perceive information better if it is a story. As well, I will tell you when and how to use storytelling, plus I will share one really simple exercise to develop your storytelling skills. A person perceives information well only if it is interesting to them. A skilled speaker will be able to structure his presentation in such a way that it will interest even idler onlookers who decided to look with one eye of curiosity. More than 27,000 years ago, when a person began to make his first drawings on the walls of caves and thus tell his fellow tribesmen about what happened to him, storytelling became the main option for transmitting information from generation to generation. And ever since then, storytelling has become the most effective way to convey information in a truly memorable way. This is the skill you have to learn as well as many others. Talking about skills, this video is sponsored by Skillshare. Skillshare is an online learning community for creatives where millions come together to take the next step in their creative journey. If you are a lifelong learner, just like me, and continue to constantly evolve, my suggestion is to start to explore new skills, deepen existing passions, and get lost in creativity. Let me check how many results we have with storytelling on Skillshare platform. Yes, this is the right place to learn. What is also great about classes is that most of them are about 1 hour. Skillshare is friendly for your time schedule, and I believe we can make one class per day the whole year. Don't be afraid that Skillshare will run out of classes. They have more than 25,000 of different classes. It is created specifically for learning, meaning there are no ads and they are always launching new premium classes, so you can stay focused and follow whenever your creativity takes you. And it's less than $10 a month with the annual subscription. Special for you. The first 1,000 of my subscribers to click in the link in the description will get a free trial of premium membership so you can explore your creativity. Then why do we remember so well information in the form of history and so badly bare data and facts and graphs, lists and tables? When we listen to stories, our brains work harder. We all love stories, movies, books, or what friends tell us, trying to explain something or teach us something new. Watching a standard, boring presentation with tables, bullet points, and graphs activates a specific part of the brain. This process includes the parts responsible for processing language and other parts of the brain that are responsible for our sensations when we experience these same events. And that's all, nothing else happens. But when someone tells us about what delicious food he tried, for example in Spain, other parts of the cortex are also connected to the internal dialogue of our brain, and if it was about movement, then the parts of cortex would be connected that are responsible for motor functions. When we listen to a story, we connect every part of our brain to it. Moreover, when we tell a story to someone, it helps us organize information and take another meaningful look at the big picture. And it also synchronizes us with our listeners. By telling a story, we make people feel the same way, or at least activate in them the same parts of the brain that were active in us when we experienced everything that we are talking about. Evolution has provided our brains with everything we need to tell stories. History for us is a casual relationship, and this is how our thinking process works. When we hear a story, we have a desire to compare it with the experience we already have had. This is why metaphors in stories work so well. And while we are busy looking for similar experiences in our memory bins, our brain activates an island, a site that helps us find similar experience of pain, joy, disgust, and so on. Now let's discuss 3 ways of storytelling. If you want to infect others with your idea, tell them a story. Has this ever happened to you? A friend told you a story, and after a few days you yourself tell him the same thing with absolute certainty that this is your idea. This is a completely natural and at the same time effective way to infect the people around you with your ideas and thoughts. According to the Hassan, this is the only way to get the listener to perceive your story as an idea or experience. So, if you want to infect everyone with your project, instead of standard presentation, tell a story and make it clear about your idea is the best thing to do. Make your story more persuasive. Tell about yourself, your experience, or provide examples from experts. When you start writing or talking about something, you may have thoughts that your experience may not be enough. What can you tell at all? In such cases, it is better to resort to the call a friend option and invite an expert in this field to your story. Or at least give some quotes from people who really understand the topic of your article. This is a good way to give a sense of reliability and authenticity. At the same time, tell an interesting story. A simple story is better than a convoluted one. When we think about history, for some reason it seems to us that the more complicated it is, the more details and clarifications there are, the better. In fact, the simpler the story, the more likely you are to be remembered. Using simple words or words of average difficulty is the easiest way to activate the right brain areas in the listeners and make them empathize. For the same reasons, humans cannot multitask. Try to reduce the number of adjectives and complex nouns and replace them with simpler ones. During studies, scientists have found that some words and phrases lose their power for storytelling. For example, the phrase tough day is used so often that now it is just words and nothing else. They will not be able to give your story to the tone that you expect from them. This means that these words simply do not activate the right area in the frontal cortex of the brain that are responsible for emotions. So think about what words and phrases you and your environment use the most, what you hear the most, and try not to use them in your next presentation. According to the research, there are 3 components that make up a good story, regardless of the story you are trying to tell. Characters. Every story features at least one character, and this character will be the key to relating your audience back to the story. This component is the bridge between you, the storyteller, and the audience. If your audience can put themselves in your character's shoes, they'll be more likely to follow suit with your call to action. Conflict. Conflict is the lesson of how characters overcome a challenge. Conflict in your story elicits emotions and connects the audience through relatable experiences. When telling stories, the power lies in what you are conveying and teaching. If there is no conflict in your story, it's likely not a story. Resolution. Every good story has a closing, but it doesn't always have to be a good one. Your story's resolution should wrap up the story, provide context around the characters and conflicts, and leave your audience with a call to action. Now I will share a simple exercise on how to improve your storytelling skills. You will need a partner to whom you will tell a story. Take a timer to 2 minutes, start to tell a story. Partner should interrupt you from time to time, and the word on which you were interrupted is the theme of your next story. But there isn't one rule, you have to tell a story. For example, you were interrupted on the word apple. You don't start to tell that apple is a fruit growing on the trees. You have to convert it to the story. Rather say that your grandma makes great apple cakes and you remember the taste from your child times. And by the way, do you know that in Russia apple cake is called sharlotka? This is all for today. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to constantly evolve. Bye bye.